Hey mom, hey grandma. Welcome back to Anatomical Analogies here. But in today's video here, we are going to discuss the structure of a myofiber. So a few different parts of a myofiber we need to be aware of and need to learn, need to know. Need to make it a part of us because it is a part of us if you think about it. But there's the sarcolemma, which is the cell membrane of a myofiber. This is kind of like the border. This is a cell membrane we discussed way back when we were just talking about the structure of a cell, but with a myofiber, excuse me, the cell membrane is called a sarcolemma. So sarcolemma is the cell membrane of a myofiber. There's also transverse or T-tubules they're called. So transverse T-tubules, whatever the hell you want to call them, they're invaginate or dip into the cell. So here's the cell membrane. Let's say the T-tubules actually they dip right into the cell. They're thin, kind of a thin valley going towards the center of the cell there, and we'll learn what the purpose of those T-tubules are in a little bit here when we talk about muscle contraction more in depth. But right now we just need to know they're the part that invaginates into the sarcolemma, into the cell membrane there. So it is part of the cell membrane, except it just dips in like that and dips up. And then the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Shut up, dog. But the sarcoplasmic reticulum. I love little Jake. I can't even say that. But sarcoplasmic reticulum. A few different things about it we need to know. We'll discuss them more in depth soon. But it's specialized smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It doesn't have any ribosomal binding sites. So it is specialized smooth ER, so no ribosomal binding sites. And what sarcoplasmic reticulum is specialized to do is specialized to store calcium, and we'll learn why very, very soon here. So it's kind of like think of the sarcoplasmic reticulum, the SR, as the, I just call it that. I don't think that's actually a technical name for the sarcoplasmic reticulum, but it's the calcium storage unit for the cell. Other parts of a myofiber are there's multiple nuclei, so the cells are very long. So it's like having multiple people are required to pedal and control an 8-wheeled bike. So those big ass bikes that I've never rode on one actually, where like a bunch of people got to be pedaling on it and controlling it. It's kind of like that. Really long. The myofibers are extremely long, so you need a bunch of control centers or nuclei. So that's why myofibers are they have multiple nuclei. Also, myofibers contain many mitochondria, so it takes lots of energy for muscle to contract. So need lots of mitochondria. Recall from our discussion on organelles of mitochondria. Mitochondria are the site of chemical reactions that extract energy from glucose. So you need lots of energy to contract muscle. So thus need lots of mitochondria as well. And last but certainly not least, parts of a myofiber, structure of a myofiber. There's myofibrils. There's many myofibrils in a myofiber, and myofibrils are bundles of myofilaments that are arranged parallel to one another. So how it works is, here's the myofiber, the muscle cell. There's a bunch of different myofibrils within the myofiber, and then within these myofibrils are bundles of myofilaments. So here's the myofiber. Pull out a myofibril, and then inside this myofibril is bundles of myofilaments there. So myofilaments, there's thick filaments and thin filaments. They are arranged in units called sarcomeres. So sarcomeres are the functional unit of a skeletal muscle. It's what makes the muscle contract. So essentially, these myofibers have a bunch of myofibrils that are arranged parallel to each other. The myofibrils are made of these myofilaments, and there's two types of myofilaments: the thick filaments, thin filaments. They're arranged in units called sarcomere, and the sarcomere are the functional units of a skeletal muscle. So this is what allows sarcomeres is what allow the skeletal muscle to contract. So if you want to think of sarcomeres, they're kind of like the initial push or the initial domino of dominoes falling in the process of muscle contraction. So aka without the initial push or that initial domino, none of the other dominoes will fall. So without the sarcomere, the muscle is not contracting. Although a bunch of sarcomeres are needed for muscle contraction, without those individual sarcomeres, muscles are not contracting, since sarcomeres are the functional unit of skeletal muscle. So just quick review here from deepest to most superficial. Pause the video and try to rearrange these terms and deepish the superficial. So we have perimycinium, muscle organ, myofiber, myofilament, sarcomere, fascicle, epimycinium, perimycinium. I may have missed one, but just arrange those from the deepest to the most superficial. Pause the video. See you in a second. Well, welcome back, and hopefully we have the right answers here. So deepest to most superficial in different parts of the muscle here. So deepest, kind of smallest, deepest, I guess it should almost be the smallest to the most to the largest. So the myofilament is the most minuscule part of the muscle there. Then myofilaments, bundles of myofilaments form the sarcomere. They intersect to form the sarcomere, arranged in units to form the sarcomere. Then the sarcomere is part of the, it's a little bit smaller than the myofibril. So a bunch of sarcomeres form one myofibril. All the myofibrils are arranged in units within that myofiber. Covering the myofiber is the endomysium. So it is essentially deepest to superficial. And then endomysium, myofibers bundle together to form a fascicle. Fascicle covering that is a perimycinium, which we've learned. And then bundles of fasciculi are called muscle organs. And then covering the muscle organs, the most superficial portion of the muscle here is going to be the epimycinium. So it goes myofilaments, the smallest, most deepest. Then the sarcomere is units of the thin and thick filaments. Then we got the myofibril, which is a bunch of sections of sarcomere. Then the myofibril are arranged parallel to each other to form a many myofibrils form a myofiber, or comprise a myofiber. Covering the myofibers, the endomysium, myofibers bundle together to form a fascicle. Covering the fascicle is that layer of dense connective tissue called the perimycinium. A bunch of fasciculi bundle together to form a muscle organ. And then last but certainly not least, we got that dense connective tissuing, covering the muscle organ, and that is called the epimycinium. So, yeah, that's how it goes. It's a lot of layers, but when you really think about it, you just got to take it layer by layer, piece by piece, Russian tea doll by Russian tea doll, and not Russian pea doll. That's in the other room. But we'll see you back here soon to continue our discussion on the muscular system.